Good morning, class. In my former life, I was a musician and a comedian, entertainer. So today's video will contain humor and sarcasm. So don't let that put you off. I, for years, have been sort of doing, in the daytime, I tell people jokes and try to make them smile. And it has worked well for me for the last 50, 60 years. And now no one's interested in humor or jokes. Everyone's been beaten down to be serious and introverted because of COVID and the arrival of government suppression in the West, which is what I'm going to talk about. I met an engineer yesterday, and he travels the world building chemical plants and things like that. And he has enjoyed his life learning the languages and seeing the other countries. And these projects last 1 or 2 years. And he was in Argentina, and he was talking about how the country has devolved into poverty. And he blames the dictators. And I said, do you think the CIA was behind that, backdooring that? And he said, no, it was the actual communist dictators who caused that. I said they were assholes. And the problem with communism is the mistaken belief that a bureaucrat can run a business. It takes an entrepreneur who wants to make a big profit and have a bigger life and a very high IQ, probably above genius. You have to at least be a genius to do that kind of thing. And in communism, when the bureaucrat can't run the business, they say, well, we'll just get more people. And the people are basically slaves being forced and pushed to try to make this thing work. Worldwide, if you see anywhere where there's communism, it's not a happy place. And it's coming to North America. It has arrived in North America. I'm in Canada, and the latest debacle up here of dictatorial powers was quite shocking to the world who thinks Canada is the nice place. But we are a socialist democracy. I'm afraid to find out what that means. The main part is socialism, which is on the road to communism. I was looking at trying to find out if my father was drafted in World War II or if he volunteered, and it's unclear. But I did find out in doing the research that Mackenzie King, the Prime Minister, manipulated the laws to get the draft slowly put in, and he even took the votes away from certain minorities for a while and then put them back to get the election to go the way he wanted. Pretty sleazy. This included taking the vote away from women and giving it back, and taking it away from foreigners who weren't white and then giving it back at strategic times. So there's history of Canada being not a nice place. Now, somebody I dare not mention because everyone will freak out and automatically turn my video off, said it's not a well-meaning world. And I really didn't like that when I heard that. Because I'm a positive, helpful person. I just got in contact with a high-level spiritual teacher, and he said the problem is actually the entire universe is set up to be the good guys against the bad guys. To watch the ensuing sufferings. I think this is the higher meaning of it's not a well-meaning world. You have angels over here and devils over here in this giant universe, and then just wait till they meet. And each side thinks they're right, so you have conflict. Which is the underlying reason why things here don't work. And they have devolved down to the current situation where philosopher number one also said if you were looking for a hell and found Earth, it would serve. Now, I own a medical research company, and I do political, historical research, and I'm an esoteric school graduate, so I have communication lines coming to me on many different levels. And what is available, if it was broadcast to the public, the world would be changed and healed in 90 days. And there would be some broken dishes in name calling, I'm sure. But that's not allowed, and the communist chewing of America has been going on since probably before World War II, before 1930s. Slowly infiltrating, getting control of the newspapers, the unions, the radio stations, the TV stations, and slowly undoing laws. I wonder now we see people sitting in these legislative assemblies, and supposedly they're making laws to make things better and lessen the crime. And if that's been going on for the last 100 years, why aren't things better? There used to be laws where you couldn't own a whole bunch of radio stations or a whole bunch of TV stations, and that was to prevent the owner from putting his opinion out as the opinion. Well, those have slowly been overturned, and now we have, I know of 3 companies, they own 12,000 radio stations each. And they bought the concert halls in the cities where the radio stations are. And then 3 people own the TV networks, and they are forcing their opinion on the news, which is not what was wanted. And the U.S. Constitution and the Canadian one says we have the freedom to speak. And this was put into law before the advent of the internet. And the platforms are free and they're private businesses, so you do have a right to say what's on there. However, their mandate is if you're going to be a wide open free speech platform, then fine, you're protected from anything that might be on there that's unethical. But if you're going to decide and edit and editorialize what's on there, then you're not a free speech program, you're something else, so you're no longer protected. And this is, it's a law. I think the number is 270. People are lobbying to have it changed. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't be protected from harm and editorialize and suppress and deplatform. And no one has the cojones to force this through. Or they're being bribed and blackmailed because they don't want to lose their cushy job, or they don't want to go to jail, or they don't want to lose their marriage, they don't want to be embarrassed. So the situation just floats. There's a newspaper called the Epoch, EPOC Times, that has all the real news, and they send me the real news. But the real news is not allowed on television, radio, or social media platforms. And maybe the operative word there is social, as in socialist media platforms. Now, I used to have, I think, 513 videos, unlucky number, on YouTube, and they took my site down and took my Facebook down. And I'm not allowed on any Google platform or service, whatsoever. And I started a newsletter where I take these news items that come to me and medical facts, and I put that out. And I'm using a list of everyone I ever talked to on email. And a lot of those people have moved on, so they bounce back. And in the early days, the platform I was on said, we're cutting you off because you're sending spam. And I said, it's not spam, it's my list of customers and acquaintances. And we went through that a couple of times, and finally they turned off my site and didn't tell me. My business went to hell. So I moved to another place, and same thing happened, and this is what I'm heading to. There's a company called Spam House in Germany, and they had decided that I was sending spam, so they stopped it. Who is Spam House? Who's paying Spam House? Who owns Spam House? It's nice that they're doing this, but I don't think they're nice. I think they're part of stopping things. So on the way to finding out what is Spam House, I ran into this gigantic, giganormous company in the States that has something to do with worldwide internet. And their homepage is so big, and it was fine print, had to scroll and scroll and scroll to find out who they are. And I have an IT guy who's a world-class genius at computer, and he had never seen this before either. So underneath the social media platforms, they buy bandwidth from these, I'm sure there's more than one, this mega, giga, unbelievably huge creature. And how that has been used, someone starts their own private attempt at getting the news out. Communist socialist billionaires will go to this company and say, you tell that person that you're no longer going to supply them with bandwidth, and get the bottom pulled out from underneath him. So it's less the visible platforms that we all know and used to love. There's bigger, darker, evil forces underneath that. So this World War III is akin to the book 1984, written by an Illuminati member as a warning, and you're supposed to let people know what you're doing when you're in the negative group. We're a society which was constantly at war and controlled by the news on television. And if you haven't read that or seen the three movies, you need to take a look at that, because it's what's going on now. We sit in our house and we watch the news, and then we pick up different news on one of the social media platforms, or two or three. And they're all being filtered. So they're a little late in getting it to be that, but the motto was, Big Brother is watching you. War is peace. Freedom is slavery. And in this book, the main bad guy is telling the hero that the war is actually, the government is at war on their own citizens. A boot heel stamping in the face of mankind forever. Was how he put it, which is totalitarian socialism. Which brings us circling back, as Jen taught us to do, the two forces in the universe. Who likes totalitarian socialism is the negative group. And the rules for them are they don't have to obey the rules, and the rules for the good guys is we have to obey the rules. So you might say, why doesn't somebody just shoot that guy? We can't do that, but the bad people can poison somebody. And we just let it happen. The weapon to be used here is these people, the negative people, don't have any souls or spirit or imagination. And they are jealous of us because we have souls, spirits, and imaginations. So the reason for the suppression of us by them is hatred and jealousy. And on a spiritual act. These beings do things to people. They influence people, or they work through people, or they disguise themselves as people and mess with the Homo sapiens, human beings. That's what's going on. So when you see some person behaving in a psychopathic manner, he either is being controlled and influenced by one of these negative beings, and some of them are AI, alien AI, or he is one disguised as a person or possessed. All of those things we've heard about are true. So the fight back is to use your spirituality and your imagination and your soul to imagine the world a better place. They can't do that. They need us. There's a book by Peter Spensky called Talks with the Devil, and the devil is explaining who they are and what they do and why they do it. And they did say there are the children of Adam and the children of the animals. And children of Adam can create and create and create things, and the children of the animals can only destroy. So they steal and use what the children of Adam have created, and then they destroy everything. That's a book worth reading. Also, the imagery, it just takes place in salons, so he's describing Ceylon, the beauty there, and the Buddhist statues and everything. It's worth a read just to have your mind taken there. What's going on here is unnecessary, and people are yammer about the next density up, and mankind is just going to suddenly drift up into the next density, and all this will go away. According to the esoteric schools, you can't do that without some work, which means you have to put your attention on the area of how can I lift my consciousness up to the next level, and then do it. And then you're responsible. You have the knowledge of it. You have control over more matter, energy, space, and time. So you drop to control your area, make it better. This is the work. I just saw a quote this morning by Thomas Edison, said, most people miss opportunities because it comes disguised in overalls and looks like work. So I'm going to tell you a couple of techniques that I have verified work to clear out your area. One is a protection, and one is how to get rid of evil beings in your vicinity. So do the evil beings first. And this is spiritual mental exercise. Just for example, if I ask you to leave your body, go out to the moon, circle it 5 times, and come back in 3 seconds, that actually happens. So this is, if you want to protect any area, you imagine a 5-pointed star high above and a red and green line from the star coming down and going into the earth. And then you pull these under the star will be a vortex, and these vortexes already exist. You imagine pulling one to your area, wherever you want to put this thing, and the vortex will spin and clean the area of negative beings. And I remembered when I learned this, which is very recently, there's a Celtic thing. You'll see a circle with 3 what looks like swirling vortexes. I think that's what that means, and maybe 3 of them is optimum. I had beings in my house, and somebody said, where I learned this, you have beings in your house, I'll send you this. And I did it, and it worked. All my nightmares stopped. So I've got one over my house. I have one over my city. I have 3 of them around the earth, covering the entire area of the earth. And the personal protection is this from Stuart Swerdlow. He's still on YouTube. He was with MK Ultra, and he's ratting them out. You imagine a 3-sided pyramid over you, and you fill it with lavender light. And over that pyramid, you imagine 2 4-sided pyramids, one up, one down. I think it's called an icosahedron. You put that over your pyramid, and it will be going down into the ground if you're doing where you are. And I fill that with lavender light. Then around the icosahedron, if that's the right name, you imagine a silver ball with a mirror surface. And the reason for that is that no one can see your triangles. Evil beings can't see your triangles. And I don't know if you fill that with lavender light, but it might be a good idea. And then around the silver ball, the chrome ball, you imagine a ring of silver spinning around it. So fast that if you put your finger in there, you'd get. And then in the opposite direction, a larger gold ring spinning in the other direction. And that's your protection device, and you state in the upper universe, spiritual universe, that this is permanent. It will stay there. Now you can do this for yourself, your house, your city, your planet, your solar system. And I've done this for me, some of my friends, my house, my city, North America. I did the whole planet Earth and the solar system. And while I was doing this, I went exterior and got as far out as Saturn. And I learned a couple of things, like everything's alive. And the asteroids, those rocks over there, are lonely. They're waiting for some action. They're just waiting for space pirates to come and land on them. And space itself, circling back to the beginning, the philosopher who said it's not a well-meaning world, said space consists of particles of space. That's what holds everything apart. And the particles are alive. And NASA probes have just come back with, there is actually a density of matter out there, which is maybe like 1 atom per cubic centimeter, but that's a lot. If you were going at the speed of light through that, it would just abrade your spaceship down to a nubbin. So these things are alive. You can actually ask them to get out of the way, and you can travel very quickly. Also, if you notice large things when they're far away look very small, it's the nature of our vision. I'm wondering if the stars and galaxies are actually much closer than we think they are. And it's the same factor of they get made small by our perception machinery, and they're actually not that far away. We'll probably find out in a while. So that was yesterday for me. I can hardly wait till tomorrow because the future's so bright. I gotta wear shades.